say something or no?
Hi, everyone, and welcome to those joining us online as well. We're just about to get started, and so just very quickly before we begin, if you want to get your last coffee or take a quick washroom break, you can do that now. And also just to be mindful of any extra noise while the presentation is happening, just to see if we can keep our attention at the front. Additionally, for those joining us online, if you have any questions that you would like to add or comments, you can put them in the chat on YouTube online, or you can email them to me, estone@armorheights.org. Or if you get the e-blast, you can simply just reply to the e-blast and I'll be able to see your question. So we'll just take 1 or 2 minutes and we'll get started. Thank you.
I'm going to get a glass of water.
Yes, I was just going to.
Yeah. Water? Do you have water? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I've got water there. Okay. Yeah. Anytime? Is that your line? Okay. Okay. Yeah.
I'll just get everybody's attention.
Sure.
Hello, folks. It's wonderful to hear you all enjoying the great food and the fellowship. And you can continue eating, but I'd like to call your attention, and Adrian will present something special. I won't say any more about it. I'll let him talk about it.
Okay. Yesterday, we had an event at the Six Nations Polytechnic, which is a post-secondary education center on the Six Nations Reserve. Six Nations is the largest reserve in Canada. I live there. I actually live in the house that I grew up in. My younger brother inherited it when my parents passed, and I live there as well. And I'm clearing some land behind the property near the Boston Creek. And so I'm just in my own homeland again. My grandchildren are in Brantford, just a half an hour away. So yesterday we had this event called Strawberry Thanksgiving and Communion. And it comes out of the land conflict in Caledonia. In 2006, there was a conflict over land, the Douglas Creek Estates, that we renamed Gunestado, which means the protected place. And then the land conflict was renewed in 2020, and they named that piece of land, it was the Mackenzie Meadows housing development. They renamed it 1492 Landback Lane. And actually, if you, early on, if you Googled 1492 Landback Lane, Google would take you right to that, that property. It no longer does that, but anyways. I mentioned the dish with one spoon, made in 1701. The actual territory is quite huge. Southern Ontario, Western New York, Western Pennsylvania, all of Ohio, all of Indiana, the lower part of Illinois, and the lower part of Michigan. And we supported the British. Our homelands were in New York State. We supported the British in the American Revolution, and when the peace was drawn between the two countries, they drew it through the Great Lakes. So we were vulnerable in our enemy's territory, so we had this Haldimand tract set aside for our losses there. Out of the dish with one spoon territory, 950,000 acres from along the Grand River, 12 miles wide, and it was from Port Maitland on Lake Erie all the way up till Dundalk in Ontario. What is left of the territory is that orange bit there below Brantford, and it is only 45,000 acres, so less than 5% of our original lands. In 1835, Canada wanted to put a road in through our lands from Port Dover on Lake Erie through to Hamilton. And so we agreed to put this road in 1835. We said that we would lease the land on either side of the road for 21 years. And when you lease land, you still own it at the end of the lease, right? So we intended to have it come back to us at the end of the lease. But lo and behold, Canada sold it, I guess, or what, we still don't know what they did. So these two ladies, the one in the sunglasses, Don Smith, and the lady with the sign up there, Janie Jameson, they said, actually, we put the land that was under development there in Caledonia into the court system in 1987. So in 2005 and 2006, these ladies said, what's the deal? It's in the courts, why is it being developed? And Canada kept telling us, if somebody builds on it, it'll never be lost to them. So we would lose it permanently. So these two ladies stopped the construction. Here's the Ministry of the Attorney General for Ontario delivering an injunction that our people wouldn't receive. And this Caledonia Baptist Church was right between the town of Caledonia and the land in conflict. And they had a really good pastor there, Roy Hawkins. He was a peacemaker, and he told me at one point, he said, I would rather lose the land than to lose my relationship with Six Nations. So he was a good man and really called the pastors together in his church to pray for a resolution. And so after our first prayer meeting, then the police raid happened. 200 riot police showed up. And then our people swarmed to the site. Over 1,000 of us were there. And we blocked the roads. And this black column of smoke is an international sign of distress. I saw that on April 21st on 2006. And so I came to the site that day too. This is from Victoria Day, 2006. We had agreed to take down the barricades and open up the road again. We thought it was a goodwill gesture. And strangely, after we took down the barricade and opened up the road, then the people who were protesting us in Caledonia swarmed the road and they blocked the road. They blocked the road. I don't know why. And so there was big conflict there, and so the police showed up again. This is 70 police, and you notice that they're facing the Caledonia crowd because they were the unruly ones. We were on the back side. This is us on the other side to the police. They've got their back to us. You don't put your back to the danger. You put your back to where you don't have to worry about it. You put your face towards the danger. And I was actually off on the side of the road on the left side here with my brother-in-law and my nephew. And We were there because this land was stolen from us and we were protecting it for our future generations. And somebody put a cedar branch and then a war club out there. The cedar branch is a symbol of healing. Said we could have peace and have some healing. Or if you want to fight, we can fight. And nobody from the Caledonia side responded. And but this is a symbol of where the women are locking arms, linking arms together. They're at the front of protecting the land, and then all the people are behind them. Well, when negotiations began, our people brought out the dish with one spoon wampum belt. Next to it is the two-row wampum, an old copy of it. Actually, in between is a silver covenant chain. You can't see it as well. Then there's the silver covenant chain, a modern reproduction, and then the last one there is the two-row wampum. And that's our traditional leaders. We made that first agreement with Europeans in 1613, we've kept it. And so when we had conflict with them, we brought out the belts and said, we have not forgotten our word, you have perhaps forgotten your word. So anyways, we held a meeting at the Six Nations Polytechnic. Yeah, we had this, some other bits of story being told by others. But in 2007 to 2010, I was hired by Mennonite Centre Committee Ontario as a part of their Aboriginal Neighbours program to educate the 26 churches that were in the Grand River Track. So they actually introduced me to the traditional council at Onondaga, the ones that were seen earlier in the negotiations. And after my introduction there, I spoke to Rick Hill. He's a traditional knowledge keeper. He's not a Christian. His grandmother was a Baptist Christian from Tuscarora, but he was not a believer. And he just finished a book on all of the stories of abuse from the Mohawk Institute, the residential school in Brantford. So he doesn't have a great appreciation or love for the church at all. But he said this after he heard that churches don't pay. He asked the question, do churches pay taxes? I knew he was referring to property taxes. And I said, no. Then he said, good. Then they're not a part of the system. And he meant the embedded property tax system of the colonial Canadian regime. And so he said, wouldn't it be great if we had a spiritual covenant with churches? Now, this is his language. This is not my language. I didn't say this. He did, as a traditional person. Because we know what the word covenant means. That's where we got the silver covenant chain. So we understood that it's an agreement between peoples under the Creator. That's what a covenant is. That's why marriage is called a covenant, because you exchange vows before a representative of the Creator in the ministry. So he said, wouldn't it be great if we had a spiritual covenant with churches where churches could acknowledge Six Nations jurisdiction over their church properties? They could pay a token lease payment and do their spiritual work. And if they ever decommissioned the land, it could return to Six Nations. So we held events in 2007, 2008. We called it at first Strawberry Festival, Corporate Repentance and Communion Service. And we held it at the church that I founded at Six Nations. And we had Cindy Ruokera, who is Maori. And if you've ever heard Maori, they're doing their hukas and their, she was there and she sang and she did that. It makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck. And then we had Gabriel Geffen, who is a Messianic Jew, so a believer in Jesus, but a Messianic Jew who lived in the old quarter of Jerusalem. So we had witnesses from around the world, from New Zealand and Jerusalem, witnessing this beginning of this spiritual covenant idea. Then we held another event in 2008. It was renewed finally in after 2020 because the conflict happened in 2006, went for 2-3 years, still is unresolved, and then it flared up again in 2020. and it was called 1492 Landback Lane. Same tire fire, but a new generation of leaders, of Indigenous leaders. Some of them were babies or young boys at the time of the first one. Some might not even have been born, but they're still the generation of resistance. The leader, spokesperson for the 1492 Landback Lane conflict was Schuyler Williams. The police charged him with all kinds of charges. The judge heard everything, but then heard our traditional teachings as well. And then he dismissed all the charges against him. Said he is taking care of the land for his future generations. So they dismissed the charges on it. So my question always has been, after 2020, especially back to the Mennonites, because that's where it started, what could have happened instead of more protests in 2020 if churches took up Rick Hill's 2007 offer of a spiritual covenant with churches? So in 2024, we picked up the conversation again, held another event. We called it the Strawberry Thanksgiving and Communion, and we held it at the Six Nations Polytechnic, and we talked about this spiritual covenant with churches. Sterling Avenue Mennonite Church, after 17 years of conversation about what they could do, said, we will take our first step towards this spiritual covenant, and we will commit 1% of our annual income. So they brought a check for $4,000. And 160 people attended, 54 churches were there, 11 denominations, 13 unions, including teacher unions, labor unions, and social justice groups. And then we held it again in 2025. Six Nations Polytechnic was undergoing renovation, so we couldn't go there. So we went to Rockaway Mennonite Collegiate, held the same event, had 170 people attend. There were 11 denominations, including Mennonite, United, Anglican, Catholic, Lutheran, Baptist, Christian Reform, Eucharist, which is also Baptist, Methodist, Wild Church, Unitarian, and others. 6 institutions, credit unions, universities, Indigenous organizations, 44 plus churches. We did not capture the churches of the people who just walked in, so there were probably more than 44 churches. The current fund before that event was $24,000, and then my church attended that, and then in their talking about the first event, they also went through a process where they said, we too will commit 1% of our annual income, or $7,000, to the Six Nations Polytechnic. So the reason we funneled money towards the Six Nations Polytechnic was because they have this thing called Deo Hahage, which is the Indigenous Knowledge Center. Their task is to restore Haudenosaunee culture, and one way they do it is that they offer a bachelor in Ongwahoe languages, either in Mohawk or Ganyangahaga or Kiuga, or as our people say, Gayogahono, and they're working on a master's for those languages and also to certificate programs. Their task was preserving and nurturing Indigenous knowledge and wisdom, and they nurture and foster community-based research that incorporates Indigenous knowledge in all fields. So we said to the churches, we said, you were a part of the assimilation process where our languages were lost, our cultures were destroyed, and our lands were lost. And as the churches give towards this center, that can be a part of their repentance, of helping restore the land, restore the culture, and do something in terms of land reparations for the event. So we said that this applies primarily to the Grand River Tract, but it can apply anywhere across Canada. 3 churches, Mennonite churches in Winnipeg, give 1%. I spoke to them about this spiritual covenant. They give 1% to their local Indigenous community there. And any church could establish a covenant with the nearest First Nations community. Meadowvale in Mississauga connect with a New Credit Reserve. Southridge in St. Catharines, Vineland, and Ridgeway are in dialogue with Niagara Regional Indigenous people. Eucharist Church in Hamilton is dealing with Indigenous organizations in Hamilton. So that's what that event was all about. We live streamed the event as well, and you could probably find it. I'm not sure, I haven't been able to find it yet, but it's been recorded and live, so you could watch what we did do that day. And we ended up with a dance at the end of our event. Last year we had 170 people dance with us. Mennonites, dancing. Christian Reform, dancing. Baptists, dancing. Catholics, dancing. Lutherans, dancing. Presbyterians, dancing. So anyways, that's what that's all about.
Thank you so much, Adrian. And this, I do want to present opportunity for questions. It could be specifically about this or, other questions you would have for Adrian. I do want to say one thing about Armor Heights. So we do yearly allocate an amount of money between $8,000 and $10,000 a year from our funds. What we've been doing so far is, as a congregation, choosing Indigenous-based organizations that are directly in relationship with the Presbyterian Church in Canada. One in Kenora often has received, we have an Honoring the Children's Fund related to helping in the discovery and honoring of the missing children and graves and so on. And there are others as well locally, the Indigenous in the city of Toronto garden that was established. But this is a very interesting opportunity. We did have Margaret So of the Mississaugas of the Credit come and do a workshop for us, and we haven't quite established that link yet in terms of a direct relationship. So I just wanted to give you that about Armor Heights, but this really makes me think about our land and this whole idea of lease and so on. Obviously, the trustees were not going to be happy with what I'm even suggesting, but this is part of a longer journey.
It took Sterling Avenue Mennonite Church 17 years to work through that, because they were really excited at the beginning. One congregant said, "What if 1,000 of us homeowners had a spiritual covenant with Six Nations?" I said, "It's a little bit more enmeshed into the property tax regime, so you might have to do more legal maneuvering there, but because the churches, that's why we're starting out in that level." They were excited at first, and then the lawyers started to talk, because they have lawyers. And the councilmen began to speak, talking about, wow, what about precedent and all of that. So they had to work through that. So the enthusiasm died a bit, but they kept on the conversation. They went through a second iteration of leadership, and then they came to that, we're going to take our first step towards this, and they came with their money. So I would say, I would invite you to come next year. We're going to do it on June the 12th, I believe it is, 2027. And your story needs to be told too, because churches are doing that with other churches, like supporting Indigenous churches. United Church does the same kind of thing. So that's another dimension of reconciliation that is in the spirit of this, because it's like trying to develop healing relationships and better relationships, and a tangible one that's not just words. That's what most people are concerned about. Indigenous community, it's all just words. And so this is one way to say, here is how things can be working. And it's even good to even invite maybe one of the partners that you're working with to come and be a part of a telling of that story. So I'm already recruiting you.
Thank you. Yes? Yeah, we have online folk as well.
Yeah, I found it very interesting to hear that the various nations were fighting before like the Europeans even showed up. And when it came to the peacemaker, were there land disputes that needed to be settled at that time between the various tribes or clans? And of course, probably we don't know the details of such settlements, but it seems to me that would have been a bit of a tricky thing as well. And,
Yeah, we had, I wish I had yeah, I don't have it here, but the dish with one spoon comes out of a conflict.
yeah,
Actually, immediate to that was when we have somebody move next to us and we treaty with them, like the Dutch, we linked arms with the Dutch.
right,
So other people live closer to the French,
yeah,
so they linked arms with the French.
right,
So when the French came to kill us, we asked our Dutch allies for help.
yeah,
And then the English and the French were fighting. Some of our people were linked arms with the English.
right,
Some were linked arms with the French. And when they started to fight, we've got a mutual support obligation.
yeah,
So we get drawn into everybody else's fight.
yeah, yeah,
But what we did was, okay, let's go back to the right principles that we learned.
yeah,
And the idea, this is how we settle land in our area. You know, they say we didn't have property, rights or whatever. Well, when you went into a woman's clan, like Jagosa says, longhouse, that's her longhouse.
yeah,
That's not somebody else's, that's hers.
right,
So there's a sense of ownership there. With the village, that's the village of those people. That's all of the clans. They're in that village. That's their village. It's not somebody else's village, it's their village. All the gardens around that they've cultivated, those gardens belong to that village. It feeds that village.
right,
But between the edge of my garden and the start of your garden is hunting territory.
right,
It's the shared territory. It's the harvest territory. The berries will grow where the berries will grow. I can't, they just grow. The deer will run wherever they want to run. And if I kill or shoot a deer close to my village and I don't knock it down, I have to follow the blood trail and harvest that deer. I've got to, otherwise I'm wasting it.
yeah,
If it falls close to your village, but in the hunting territory, you'll have no problem with me harvesting that deer because that's mutual shared territory and that's what we need to take care of.
sure,
So we came back to our understanding when we had those conflicts to this is how we'll do it.
right,
Yes, we have ownership. So when the Dutch came, they started to build docks and storage barns and then houses, and they had their own gardens. We never told them, that's not yours. We recognized it just like us. You built it, it's yours. You put your effort into it, it's yours. But this shared territory, that's all of us. That feeds us all. So that kind of concept is what we had in mind throughout the country.
I guess the main push is to try to remedy the broken treaties and the basic dishonesty that's been exemplified in the Canadian government towards Indigenous people. Is that true?
Yes, tell that to your government.
Yeah.
Call your MP, email your MPPs, get in touch with your city aldermen and councilmen and mayors, and tell them what I told you.
Thank you for your talk this morning. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I have a different question. So when you introduced yourself, you said you were of your Haudenosaunee group. You were raised in that environment and also an Anglican mother. And I wonder what was like personally for you growing up. What was the harmony? What was the trickiness?
There was no trickiness.
Oh.
No trickiness at all.
Really?
No arguing.
Really?
No fighting. I knew my parents had different faith. That was clear. But they never yelled. They never argued. However, the decision was made, and my mother was a part of it, that we would all go to the Longhouse with my dad.
Okay.
So we did. Even she did. But, that was an agreement, and I didn't have to, as a traditional person, the greatest influence on me for Christianity? Charlie Brown Christmas.
Love it.
Literally. Charlie Brown Christmas. Because I've always seen myself as Charlie Brown. Bit of a kind of a loser kind of guy, like not really confident, just like wandering through life, mostly wondering. That's me. And when he yells, "Will somebody tell me what Christmas is all about?" Lights go down, spotlight comes up, Linus walks on, and he just reads scripture.
Wow, yeah.
About why, the birth of Jesus.
Did you know that Charles Schultz wouldn't let them have the Charlie Brown Christmas unless that was included? He insisted. That had to be in it or it wasn't happening.
Yeah.
They didn't want it, but he made them do it.
Can we repeat that for the people online?
Yeah, Charles Schultz made sure that scene where Linus tells the Christmas story was in the Charlie Brown Christmas. The producers didn't want it, but he insisted. Otherwise, he was going to kibosh the whole thing. And so it is there.
Yeah.
And we'll make sure some of our people who are newer to Canada, you should look up Charlie Brown and Charlie Brown Christmas. Any other? Patty.
Thanks very much, Adrian. And I just echo the words of appreciation for your story in worship, and also the witness of solidarity that you're speaking about today. And my question is, I was struck in the slides just now about the new generation of leadership, and how our media often tries to stigmatize young voices. As operating outside the law, whatever, without questioning the law, and acting, as gang behavior or whatnot. And, I think we know there is many Indigenous Indigenous voices who are providing leadership to the country, not just to Indigenous communities. I'm thinking in politics, Wab Canoe, in academics, in entertainment, all kinds of things. How can we be in solidarity with Indigenous voices within community and within our whole community? Destigmatize young people, support those voices that are really giving leadership to the country. I'd be interested just to hear you say a little bit more about that, because I think we're growing into a broader awareness nationally, but there's so much stigma and racism still there. So what can we do together to address that?
Listen. Listen to the people. Listen. Don't rush to judgment. I've noticed this, especially in the church. People are just ready to rush to judgment, especially in theological circles. They're right away. He's wrong, or this is not right, and I don't agree with this, or whatever. Chill out. Listen. And think about it for a few days, because I've been thinking about it for decades. Give it a few days in your head before you venture to speak about it. Because if you listen to the story, then you catch the spirit of what they're trying to say. If you get caught up in the words, the terminology, and all of the kind of impressions that come to you at first, you'll miss it, and you'll be rejecting things that you don't know anything about. So listen is really, really important. Listen to some of those voices. Listen to Wab Kinew. He's speaking to Canada. He's speaking to the world. I don't agree with everything about Wab Kinew. I know him. I know others who know him too. And he's like the rest of us, we're good, bad, and ugly. We just want it all to be presentation good, but the reality is we are human beings. And if there's anything about Haudenosaunee, it's like, just accept your humanity. Just accept the fact that you're not perfect. That's why you need Jesus. I have to tell Christians that. You need Jesus. Because you act like you don't need Jesus. You're so good, it's like you're just going to heaven on your wings.
Even your mom needed Jesus.
Exactly.
Michael? And then we'll
It's not a question, but an amplification. We are listening, oh God. Speak to us.
Yes, good. That's good.
yeah. Well, we could be here all day, but I know, Adrian, you have a long drive back, longer than most all of us here. Although some of our folks I know who join us online come from even further away. But thank you so much for honoring us with your presence, sharing your knowledge, the stories, but your heart. And I know I'm listening, and I hope we all are listening. And we take this, we ponder it, and definitely I've written down, that's what I was writing down, June 12th, so we'll follow up.
Yes, good. That's good.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's always good to go to a church that the tech is working quickly and easily. Yeah.